Hey friends out there, Rob here. Happy to have you back today. I'm answering your questions. Have you ever wondered what's the purpose of a camcorder? Like really, in all this day and age of these beautiful cameras that can do all these hybrid cinematic shots and things like that, why would someone use something like the HCX1500, this small sensor camcorder right here? Well, I've got a question today that asks that specific reason and kind of illustrates the point. How long can you record continuously in 4K 60 without it overheating? And I'm looking for doing walking tours for about 2 hours, 3 hours straight. Would you recommend this camera? And this comes from Random 5518 asking the question on my Panasonic X1500 2000 and CX10 initial impressions, a pint-sized camcorder with professional perks. That video was made, I believe, 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, and I have had a love-hate relationship with this beautiful camera, but I gotta tell you, I made a video recently on the cameras that changed my life, and this is one of them. I absolutely love this camera. There are some niggles that I don't like about it, some things that irritate me, but the reality is that this is an excellent camera. And it answers that first question, what's the purpose of a camera in 2023, or a camcorder in 2023 when you could just use a camera? And I'll say this, the record time in this camera or camcorder, if I happen to use those interchangeably, just forgive me, I'm talking about a camcorder here. I've never had any issue with this overheating. I've recorded for 2, 3, 4 hours straight. The battery will record. This battery right here, let me tell you guys something. This little Panasonic, this is the 56, VBR 56, I believe. Oh, excuse me, VBR 59. This battery I have without a doubt recorded for 3.5 to 4 hours in the hot sun, 100-degree weather on the beach, okay, no cover, and just turned it on and let it record for my wide-angle shots, and it has done an excellent job. So no issues there. So I know for a fact that this camera will run to the runtime of the battery, and I probably could have recorded even further. This battery is rated for 4.5 hours of actual on time and use recording by Panasonic. I have no reason to doubt that at all. I have recorded with this battery or others that I have that are this battery from, I've got several. I have recorded with this style of battery in this camera and had zero issues recording 3.5 to 4 hours. I'm going to continue on to say, to answer your question, random, that no, you won't have any kind of record limit that you will meet, especially in the environment that I have found. You will enjoy some of the image stabilization with this camera, but if you're going to be, or camcorder, if you're going to be doing handheld walking tours, you might want to think about getting something like a gimbal to put this on. The way I usually like to use this, and I do apologize, I probably should have put this on the gimbal to show you. I use a Xenon Crane 3 gimbal with this camera. Because this zoom will zoom out to basically 25 times, which is a 600 millimeter equivalent and 35 millimeter comparison, like full frame comparison. No matter how good the optical image stabilization is, and it's excellent, when you get out there that long zoom, like I was when I was photographing and recording a air show recently, you're going to see some movement in the difficulty to hold it steady. So if you've got it on a gimbal is what I'm saying, and you're walking around, it's going to make a heavier package. It's going to work better. And I use the Xenon Crane 3. And actually you can tell I've got the Xenon Crane 3 bottom plate attachment on it right now. I don't know if you can kind of see that, but it's got the little post in the front. So I use it on a gimbal, and I do that even with quite a few of my weddings and things that I do. When I'm going to be moving this camera, I will put it on a gimbal. I will also generally choose to shoot wider if I'm going to move, which is closer to the 24 millimeter end of the lens. Of course, once again, that's 24 millimeters in full frame equivalent. If I'm not going to be moving it around too much, I don't mind to zoom in if it's on a tripod. The image stabilization, while it's steady shot, will work just fine. And I enjoy it for that reason. The other reasons that I like it is because you can go light. When I do put it on a gimbal, I'll often take the top handle off. That's a nice thing that Panasonic did with this camera. You'll notice it doesn't say X1500 on here anywhere except on the nameplate at the bottom, which you can't see because it's covered. That's because Panasonic made all of these cameras in this line, the 1500, the 2000, and the CX10, to be the exact same body and frame, meaning the active cooling system that it uses, a fan-operated active cooling in and out, works on all of them. The lens works the same with its 2-ring design. The buttons work the same. The Venus processing engine is the same on the inside. The sensor is the same. The LCD screen is bright and it's the same. All of those things work exactly the same as you would expect. The difference between them in the United States And I make that distinction because in some areas, the X1500 does come with this top handle. But in the United States, the X1500 does not. You add the top handle and you add 3G SDI, which you don't need because you do 1080 out at 10-bit at whatever frame rate you're doing, and 4K out at 10-bit at whatever frame rate you're doing. So unless you know you need 3G SDI and it's only 1080p at 60, you know you need 3G SDI if you need 3G SDI, if you need that connection because you're broadcast. Otherwise, just get the X2000 or X1500 in the top handle and save the extra $200 you would spend because of the licensing that you would have to pay for that hardware. Same thing with the CX10. If you want the CX10, it's probably because you're a news reporter, professional reporter, and you need P2 profiles and NDI access to the camera. NDI, which is an access to the camera over a network interface, plugs into the USB port, which is right here, and they give you a dongle to adapt an Ethernet to it, USB-C dongle that adapts an Ethernet. Then you've got 3G, SDI, NDI, and the P2 profiles. If you are a YouTuber, if you do not work in broadcast, if you're a dad or a mom looking to document your family, if you work for a production company, the likelihood that you need 3G SDI and NDI is very low, right? So unless you need it, don't buy it. Just get the 1500 in the United States, buy the handle for $300, get it from Adorama, usually, or B&H. They have a bundle savings, $16.99, which is $1,700, regularly $300 for the handle. That's $2,000. The HCX2000, which is the camera and the handle with the 3G SDI, is usually $2,200, $22.99. So save $300 and get it that way. I absolutely love this camera. One thing I don't like are the buttons. I don't think you'll have too much of an issue with that. If you're going to do walking tours and you just want to set the camera up straight, nice and easy to work the way that you want it, I would suggest putting it in fully auto mode, but also going into your menu and setting up the auto iris button as the exposure compensation, auto exposure level, and that will allow you to add plus exposure compensation up to 3 stops or minus exposure compensation up to 3 stops. You can actually assign that function to a wheel, which would mean that as you're walking around, if the part that you're trying to expose isn't exposed the way that you want, you could very easily simply twist one of these rings up front, and then since it's assigned to that function, you could have the benefit of full automatic control, which is excellent with face tracking and things like that, as well as the use of the auto exposure control, which sets that level so that you could have some manual override ability. It's a great way to use this camera, and I use it that way when I'm doing things with my family, or if I'm in a run and gun environment very quickly that like a bride jumps out of the limo fast and I didn't have time to set up the camera because maybe there was traffic and I didn't get there in time or something like that. So I'm jumping out just before that they do because I called the limo driver and asked him to slow down. Something like that, I might just put this in auto mode and do that because it will give me consistently excellent results. So random. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to find a like down below. Leave me a like and a comment. Buy me a cup of coffee through PayPal or use the Amazon link. Support the channel, man. I answered the question. If anybody else has a question, don't forget to send it here. Thank you so much for asking. Guys, I'm Rob, and I'll catch you all on the flip side. Bye for now.